welcome everybody. I was informed that officially we are on air on YouTube, so probably some people are watching us from a distance. My first presentation, and I hope you are counting time, okay, for me. My aim of this, in this presentation is just to provide a critical review of all editions of the books that we all know as related with the spectrum of teaching styles. And I would like to explore some questions that I have for you. Now, we all know that things started probably back in 1966 through a dialogue between a teacher and a student, Muska and the student, we don't know his name. And it all started with questions, I mean the whole history. Like, is there science about teaching? Is there universal theory about teaching? Could this theory include and integrate it, whatever? And it concluded, I mean, and that was the first step, the first book back in 1966, the first edition. And if you have the chance to find this book, it's very rare, of course, you will see that it starts again with a lot of questions that triggered Mostyn's attention. And it was the first attempt exploring, for him, exploring the theoretical limits of what he had in mind at the beginning. And that was the first model, let's say, that he prepared for this reason. But there were also, as I said, a lot of questions like, are there only two extreme styles, or is there anything in between? Because we all understand what is happening in the two extremes, but it's very interesting what is happening in between. And it concluded with the description of 7 teaching styles, and you see the names here. And I could note here, at least, that creativity, for example, was mentioned, but not analyzed as approach. And you see something here about the use of small group teaching style or the individual program that in the next editions of the book, they disappear and they change names. So the concept, based on Mostyn's writings, the concept of styles of teaching emerged from the need to identify and clarify the structure of teaching behavior. And before the second edition of that book, in 1972, there was another edition, From Command to Discovery. And in this edition, the spectrum of teaching styles spread it with examples in different subjects and school disciplines. But there was an important step in the evolution of theory, because he started figuring out how this theory can be in real life, and realizing that the combination of decisions in different phases, pre-impact, impact, and post-impact, provides us with numerous teaching styles. And in 1981, the second edition came, again by Mostyn. And there you can see for the first time the non-versus approach clearly like that. And also started talking about the anatomy of its style. So Mostyn was and learner-initiated style was mentioned, but little analysis was done again here. But what you can see here also is, you know, the inclusion style, which probably replaced what was in the middle, talking about the small group and the individual group teaching styles in the previous editions. And in 1966, that's the first edition, where we see Sarah Ashworth together, although they met, I think, at some point in 1969, and they were working and collaborating for many years. It was 1986 where you see both names. And there you have 10 teaching styles. So probably that's why we call Moston as the father of the theory and Sarah Ashworth as the mother of the theory. Okay. And in the middle, there is what we call the guided discovery style. And in 1990, there was another edition, if you remember, from teaching, from command to discovery, which also explained the theory and the application of the theory in different disciplines, but at school, okay? But also it provided for first time a more complete picture of the whole theory. So this diagram was the first time to be presented there. And in 1994, that was the year where Moston passed away, was the year that they had the 4th edition of the book, Teaching Physical Education. And there you can see the known teaching, the 11 teaching styles that we all know. And that was from Moston's biography. At some point, Sarah asked him, why did you and not someone else invent the spectrum? And I will leave you 10 seconds to read what he responded there. Okay, I hope you are reading fast. And it's the first time when you see the audience looking that way and that way, and you feel that everybody is focused. Okay, and then there was the 5th and 6th editions, where we see more obviously that the set of decisions produces the teaching styles by using the combinations of decisions in different phases, pre-impact, impact, and post-impact. And these are the teaching styles, the landmark teaching styles that we all use, of course. So after 94, the following editions kept the 11 teaching styles and analyzed them further. Of course, this work was done by Sarah Ashworth. And back in 2006, I had a lot of questions too. I already had about 10 years of experience and work and research with the spectrum. And I was trying to find answers to my questions. For example, can we have just one single criterion to compare and distinguish teaching styles? Is it the end of the theory, or is there space for evolution? Because I realized I didn't have all these books, but I realized that there was an evolution behind that. And you all know that similar questions were raised by these authors about finding something special, special characteristics within its teaching style to distinguish between its teaching style, I mean, across the spectrum. Now, I focused in this study back in 2006 in the anatomy of any style, so focusing in that upper part of the diagram, and started to preparing a table like that. And if you can see, I mean, the different combinations, you understand what is TLL. T is for teacher. The teacher makes all decisions. L is the learner. Learner makes all the decisions. TL means a combination, a collaboration between them. So you can see with different colors, the set of decisions match, although that we have different teaching styles. So my question was how many combinations of the set of decisions exist. So I tried to follow a methodology, to build a methodology on how to follow Moston's and Ashworth's thought, although at that time, I haven't met them. I mean, I did that work, and then I met with Sarah Ashworth, and I was trying to discuss at that point with Sarah all this. So I followed this type of developmental order from pre-impact to impact and post-impact, and from phase to phase, trying to build this kind of order, and also from style to style. So you will have my presentation, of course, if you want, later. If I'm skipping, or if I'm talking too little for each slide. Is it 10 minutes? Okay, I will conclude very fast. So based on this methodology, we can have 27 cases in 3 clusters based on who has most of the authority in which phase. And if you take again the 27 cases and you try to find where are the teaching styles, you will see that so far we analyzed the set of decisions of 11 teaching styles, and they all fall into 7 cases, 7 out of 27. So what about the remaining 20 cases? I think that this gives us a lot of potential for the future of the spectrum, because we haven't explored the whole of the spectrum. So I will skip probably a couple of slides just to leave room for my colleagues here. And I will conclude with the epilogue, okay? Now, we need to keep in mind that the theory is useful both as a practical and research tool, no matter what could be the results of any taxonomy. Its teaching style is useful depending on our teaching objectives and priorities. And teaching and learning is a complex activity that we haven't fully understood yet. It's a Catholic theory, and I have to explain for my friend from Italy, it's not about the Pope. Catholic implies an application for different disciplines and subjects in school, business, or whatever. We need to be careful with the terms that we are using, because if you change something here, then instead of promoting understanding, we promote confusion, I think. And its teaching style creates a framework, and within it we can have variations, or you will see the term canopies within the book, in the book. And so there is also great potential for research within a certain teaching style, analyzing the characteristics and examining different characteristics within the teaching style, among different teaching styles, among different combinations of teaching styles, and of course across the spectrum. Just to conclude, the spectrum of teaching styles, as we all know, is a pedagogical framework, perhaps incomplete or imperfect, where we try to see it critically, but still powerful, with a great potential to guide us in the future of education, I hope. Thank you. So let's continue with the next presentation, which is coming by our colleagues Álvarez-Rodríguez and Calero-Cano, the spectrum of teaching styles in physical education, a systematic review.
Great. So good morning, everybody. I'm Enrique Álvarez, and as well with José Carlos Calero, we both come from Comillas University, located in Madrid, Spain. This work you can see here on the screen is a systematic review of the spectrum of teaching styles, a work that was born as part of my master's thesis. First thing of all, we wanted to do a brief introduction in order to get some ideas that will later come up in the work. Okay, so first thing of all, that we wanted to state that physical education contributes to students' physical, social, and emotional development. As well, the spectrum is one of the most internationally recognized pedagogical framework, okay? After that, it also organizes the teaching styles based on decision-making between teacher and learner, which actually is increasingly relevant for promoting motivation and autonomy, okay? Following up to that, the main justification we've brought of these master thesis follows the four following points. First of all, nowadays there are more heterogeneous classrooms, and because of that, there's a need for methodological diversity. Because of this, the spectrum offers quite a flexible and structured framework for selecting the teaching styles. There's a previous review which showed some methodological limitations with all due respect, and because of that, we found the opportunity to update the state of the art between the years 2015 and 2025, following a rigorous systematic review. This review had a general objective, which was to analyze the current relevance and applicability of the spectrum of teaching styles through a systematic review of scientific literature between the years I've just mentioned, 2015 and 2025. We also wanted to state some specific objectives, such as examine the model's current validity and pedagogical relevance. We also wanted to identify trends in the use of reproductive and productive styles, as well as explore connections with active methodologies and technological innovations. The last objective of these was to analyze implications for teaching training and professional development. These four specific objectives will be later talked about during the results, okay? The methodology we used followed the PRISMA guidelines, and so the systematic review was done according to these guidelines. We looked into databases, Web of Science, and Scopus. We also had a deep look at Google Scholar, but all what we found there was already indexed in these two databases. We also used the PICO as a search strategy to get the articles, getting in the end a final sample of 38. These 38 articles meet the following inclusion criteria, which which I've already said it before, they had to be either in English or in Spanish. They had to focus on Mostyn and Ashworth's spectrum, as well as they had to be published in peer-reviewed journals. Here you can have a look to the PRISMA diagram we made. So almost from 1,000 articles, we got onto the 38 that got into the results of our thesis. Getting on to these results, we first wanted to take a look at some general trends that we found. So first thing of all, there's still a predominance of reproductive styles, as we all know, from A to E, but still there is growing research interest in the productive styles. While practice style B remains the most frequently applied in schools, okay, guided discovery and divergent styles show consistent benefits, although I must say that there's no style better than another. Following on the results related to the impact on students, here we focused on the productive styles, like literature focused on the productive styles, because they enhance, first of all, motivation and autonomy, enjoyment and positive perceptions of PE, motor learning, as well as critical thinking and problem solving. There's still a strong alignment of these productive styles with competence-based curriculum, which all throughout Europe is very, very common to have it nowadays in our schools. Related to integration with active methodologies, another of the specific objectives we wanted to attend to. First thing of all, the spectrum integrates effectively with project-based learning, virtual reality and digital tools, cooperative learning, as well as with formative assessment. These combinations, they all improve motivation and also motor competence. Following up to the discussion of this article, the spectrum remains a vigorous, adaptable, and theoretically robust framework. It supports reflective teaching and informed pedagogical decision-making. It also researches highlights benefits between productive styles, although, as I've already stated before, practice still leans toward the reproductive styles. So, because of this, there's a need to bridge the gap between the research and what is done in the real-world application. Getting up to the conclusions, we must say that the spectrum is a current, useful, and internationally validated pedagogical framework, first thing of all. After that, it promotes student-centered learning and autonomy. The productive styles offer significant motivational and cognitive advantages, and as well, strengthening teacher training is essential to diversify methodological practice. Getting into the end, there are some implications it might have for this Congress, because first thing of all, it provides an updated synthesis of the global research of the past 10 years. It also reinforces the international relevance of the spectrum. It can, during the research, we have identified emerging research lines and training needs that we might consider. And as well, it contributes to the Syles mission of promoting evidence-based teaching. Before I finish, first thing of all, I wanted to thank the Spectrum Institute for Teaching and Learning for letting me be here and having this opportunity, as well to Universidad Pontificia Comillas, where I come from and where this study was made. Once and for all, I wanted to thank you your attention for being here and for hearing what I brought. And if you have any doubt, please no doubt in asking me. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I didn't know you would save so much time. Okay. So, but we have time just for one question maybe. Or two questions. Yes.
I have a question. So, Maurizio Bertolo from Italy. So, in humanity, so do you hear me?
Yeah, I do.
In humanities, so the problem is language barrier and English bias many times. So, for many of the people involved, so mainly from Asia, for instance, or other countries. And so you mentioned that you tried to look for some papers in Google Scholars, but did you try to look for the gray literature? Because so in this field, so which is one of the humanities field, and pedagogy is very language related sometimes. So did you find some gray literature that can close the gap that you highlighted between research and the real world application?
No, actually what we only focused on English and Spanish, mainly because they're the languages I speak. So in order to get to do the review, we didn't want to focus on other languages in order to attend to these limitations I've got with the language.
So I think that this is the right place to try to put together gray literature, so with different experience, different countries, different languages. So because we have also Arab, French, and so Chinese, and many other languages. So we have so more than 400 languages in the world. So I think that this is a good contribution to close the gap between research and the real application.
So the title of the presentation is Tracing Transformation, 2 Decades of the Spectrum of Teaching.
Kalimera, right? It's a good morning. Kalimera, good morning. It's so honored to be here. My name is Jong-sun Kim from South Korea, and title of this presentation is A 2-Decade Comparison of Physical Educators' Belief and Practice in South Korea. So briefly say this is comparison 2005 data, 2025 data in South Korea about physical educators' teaching style. My name is Jong-sun Kim. I'm a doctoral student in Arizona State University under Dr. Pamela Hodges Kulinna. And my major interest is spectrum of teaching style and whole of school approach, which is comprehensive school physical activity program. Before I start the main presentation, I want to share my teaching experience. I was a teacher 5 years in South Korea, and that was the picture of me. I play a lot of different physical activity with my student. So as you can see, that red shirt was me, and it was a very hot summer, so we play water gun game during the physical education time. And as you can see, the guy behind me, he's shooting the gun into my hip. So we are very close and like very friendly teaching experience at that time. But let's go back to the 20 years ago. I was very young in 2005, and that little baby is Dr. Nam. He is in University of Minnesota, and he was a little tiny baby. And what about the education system in 2005? So that was my experience. I was a soccer team in South Korea, 2005, and number 19 was me. And the guy next to me having a black sunglasses, he was my 6th grade homeroom teacher. And as you can see, he's very command style, charisma, tiger. And the guy who have a red hat, he was a PE teacher, and he always carries long bamboo stick, and he always punish us. So either 2005. So you can see a lot of differences 2005, 2025 using the picture. I was very friendly teacher, and 2005 it was a little bit like an army, but actually they using command style most of that. So background of this presentation is spectrum of teaching style, and I like this statement very much. Teaching is a chain of decision making. So teaching style A is teacher dominant teaching style. So teacher hold the key and driving the car. And when you go to the style K, teacher gradually hand the key to the student. So teaching style K is student hold the key and student driving the car. Belief is what physical educators think of teaching style can do for a student. Belief show teachers' pedagogical values. And practices is what teacher actually reports using in PE classes, and practices show what teachers translate into real-world instruction. There are always have a belief and practice gap. Teachers do not always teach in ways that fully match what they believe is valuable. Just for example, if I believe I'm a handsome guy, in real world setting, I'm not a handsome. So teachers' belief and practice having always a little bit gap. Here is some reason. Classroom management demands time pressure, prior training, and teaching habits perceive feasibility in real school world setting. But in this presentation, I want to see more broader picture. Culture and national curriculum reforms, like policy level. This is very landmark study, cultural evidence of spectrum, using 7 country studies, and Korea PE teacher report the least experience with many teaching styles compared to others, and England report the highest belief about experience with production styles. But this study giving me some inspiration about cross-cultural investigation, because there is significant cross-cultural variation observed. Teaching practice must be analyzed within specific culture and institutional context. But why I select South Korea? Because South Korea is my hometown as well as, and we always follow Confucian heritage culture and having some student-centered curriculum reforms. So Confucian heritage culture is something like what I told with Brian Lance this morning about when we having a dining with elder people, younger generation have to wait until they start to eating. And we always provide some food for the elder generation. And that Confucian heritage culture is transferred to our education system. So Korean education government tried to make student-centered reform couple of times, 2007, 2009, 2015. So my research question one was, how have reported use of teaching style changed between 2005 and 2025? Second, how have belief about the pedagogical value of each teaching style change over the same period? Third, to what extent do belief predict their reported use of teaching style? We're using time lag design, which can make the possibility for comparison 2005 and 2025. We're using teachers' belief and use of teaching style by Kulinna and Cawthron. As you mentioned about translation, we're using forward translation, backward translation, cultural validation, and expert validation, because that instrument is for English version, so we're using translation process as well. But I want to say apple, frozen apple to fresh apple, because 2005 data is frozen apple because I cannot find the raw data, so it will be the frozen apple. But both data come from South Korea and in-service PE teacher population, same instrument, and we can use data like usage data and belief and perception data. But here, different thing is we cannot find the demographic from 2005. We cannot find the recruitment detail from 2005. But we try our best to comparison apple to apple, not apple to bananas. Here's the results. So overall use patterns, a little bit similar, but you can see more detail here. Only 3 teaching style decreased, and overall, generally, almost 8 teaching style increased, and especially teaching style D, H, and J increased significantly. So Korean in 2005, Korean PE teachers reported the least experience with many teaching styles compared to others, but now, as you can see, we have multiple teaching styles, so I can say teachers having more tools in their toolbox, in their pocket. But overall belief patterns is almost similar, but a little bit variation is a little bit wider in 2025. And also belief can predict use only in 2025 data. So we conducted using hierarchical multiple regression. So step 1, we adding gender, teaching experience, education level, perceived teaching ability. Step 2, we adding style level belief mean, and all teaching style is significantly belief can predict use. Here is the discussion. The coexistence of increased student-centered style and continued teacher direct style is consistent with Korean culture based on their cultural aspect and multiple student-centered curriculum reforms. However, cultural and curriculum reforms are having a selective reform effect. The autonomy, problem solving, and creativity discourse, like student-centered reform in 2007, 2009, 2025 curriculum reforms align well with increase in style D, H, and J, but we need more future research about why this D, H, and J is significantly increased, especially. Belief is significant, but not enough. More important than belief change alone is whether teachers feel prepared support to enact those beliefs in real-world practice. So we need more training for spectrum for the in-service PE teachers. I want to close using this statement. Change was evolutionary rather than revolutionary. Educational reform can be revolutionary, but actual teachers' use will be evolutionary, reflecting adaptive adaptation with existing pedagogical cultures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Kim. Very interesting presentation. Any questions from the audience? Okay. I have a question, but I don't know, should I put it now or later? Anyway, just one question. Kim, what do you think? I mean, you conducted exactly the same study in 20 years' time. So, what do you think was the most significant, let's say, factor that made impact in this change in Korea?
As I say, 2005 was very teacher-dominant teaching style, and when Korean government had multiple student-centered curriculum reforms, a lot of teachers are confused they are doing. Like their cultural aspect was dominant teaching style. We have to follow teachers say they're more common style, but Korean government say, oh, we need to switch to the student-centered curriculum reform, and teachers very confused about that. So what I found is more than educational reforms, we need like actual teachers training about multiple teaching styles. That was what I feel, yeah.
Thank you, Kim. But is it, I mean, you mean women lead the change? That's what I understand.
No.
Because we were discussing this with some colleagues here.
Oh, yeah. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and share our research with you today. My name is Dong Liu, come from Arizona State University. In Chinese philosophy, there is a concept called 知行合一. It refers to the unity of knowing and doing. What we believe should be reflected in what we do. In another word, our belief and our actions should be aligned. But in reality, this is not often the case. This is exactly the gap I want to talk about today. So our present study titled Mapping the Belief and Practice Gap in the Spectrum Teaching Styles, Perspective from Chinese Physical Education Teachers. The spectrum of teaching styles is widely recognized. Many studies have looked at what teaching styles teachers prefer and how often they use them. However, this is still limited evidence on one important question. Do teacher classroom practice truly align with their teaching beliefs? In China, this issue is even more complicated. On one hand, the national curriculum promotes student-centered competency-based learning. On another hand, traditional teacher directing practice are still deeply rooted in schools. So there is a clear tension between reform ideas and classroom reality. This is not unique to China. It may happen in many contexts. So the purpose of this study is simple: to examine the belief-practice gap across all 11 spectrum teaching styles. We collect data from 144 in-service PE teacher in China. We used a spectrum based on questionnaire covering all 11 teaching styles. It was quarterly adapted and translated and back-translated to ensure accuracy. This data set is part of a larger international project involving multiple countries. For each teaching styles, we measure two things. First, how often teachers actually use it. Second, belief, the perceived value of their styles. For the analysis, we use described statistics and paired sample quantity. So this way allows us to see not only whether a gap exists, but also how big the gap it is. Let's look at the result. Across all 11 teaching styles, we found a very clear pattern. Teachers' perceptions were always higher than their actual use. In other words, they believe these styles are highly valuable, but they don't use them as much. This pattern appears across the entire spectrum. In fact, not a single style escaped this gap. The effect size ranges from small to multiple. This suggests that the gap is both real and systematic. However, the gap is not the same across all styles. The largest gaps were found in style D, E, and F. These more learner-centered styles, and here is the key point. These are exactly the styles that teachers value the most, but they use them least. By contrast, style A, the common style, shows the smallest gap. This suggests that as the teaching moves from teaching directed to student-centered approaches, the gap becomes larger. So why does this gap exist? We believe there are three main reasons. First, institution factors. The education system often emphasizes standardized outcomes and efficiency. As a result, it becomes harder to use more flexible, student-centered teaching styles. Second, practical constraints. In many schools, teachers face the large class size, limited time, and limited equipment. Under these conditions, it becomes difficult to implement student-centered teaching styles. Third, cultural factors. Traditional teaching still strongly influence. Teaching often feel more comfortable using familiar method. So this gap is not about a lack of awareness. It's shaped by real-world constraints. Chinese teachers strongly support a wide range of teaching styles, but in practice, they do not use them as much. So this is a clear gap between belief and practice. This has implications. First, at the policy level, we need to reduce institutional pressure and limit teaching flexibility. Second, at the training level, teachers need to practice strategy to bring student-centered styles into real classroom. Third, at the school level, we need supportive environments that encourage more diverse teaching practice. Looking ahead, we want to move from identifying the gap to addressing it. We believe teacher education is the key starting point. If we want future teachers to use these styles effectively, we need to integrate them in both theory and practice in teacher education. In addition, we are exploring how the spectrum can be integrated into teacher education. Specifically, we are working with pre-service PE teachers, integrating the spectrum into courses such as fitness training, motor learning and control, and research method in PE. Among these, the integration with fitness training has already been developed and will be present at the SPAP World Congress in 2026. This work has also received a mini grant from the Spectrum Institute. Our goal is to support future teachers in applying these styles in real classroom. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much for your presentation. I think I got a couple of ideas for our next conference. And the difference between perceptions and reality, which is a common pattern in many countries, I think, using that particular question. So, any questions from the audience? Yes, please. Just wait for the microphone.
Thank you for presentation. I have a question. I probably missed some information. Did you use survey or interview to conduct your study?
Interview?
Interview.
So we just said the questionnaire. We haven't used the interview things.
So you use survey to collect your data, right?
Yep.
Because I got my bachelor and master back to China. So as I know, I learned about the spectrum. It was my first year PhD, so I don't know nothing about spectrum when I was a master student. So how did you explain the different teaching style in your survey? Have you do any explanation or give some example about how the style looks like in your survey?
Okay, thank you for your question. That's probably my problem. I didn't show you the questionnaire. We used a questionnaire from, I don't know how to say, what's our questionnaires the name? What's that called?
We call this SOOPS, especially spectrum of use and perception of teaching style, and it have 11 different teaching style, and each style have different scenarios. So PE teachers can know about which style is style A, B, C, like that.
Yeah, we explain every styles, how to use it, like when we explain the practice style, we tell them we set different stations, and when you arrive the first station, what kind of activity you should to do, and next station what you do at different station, practice different activities. So we didn't use the connect, we used the description to explain how to do it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Yes, Brendan.
Thanks very much to all the presenters for their presentations, really interesting things to consider. But in particular, I was thinking about the last two presentations. And have you considered the effects that assessment or high stakes curriculum has on teachers' use of styles?
The last two?
Yeah, so was it Kim's presentation as well as yours? Like a lot of the points that you raise, like definitely I agree, have effects on why there is this gap, but the effects of when you have assessment or high stakes curriculum. So when you know the student is going to be taught, how does that affect the teacher's use of styles as well?
Sorry.
That can be my question as well, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, of course, Korean, China, and Japan have a high pressure about standard testing, and that will be my next presentation. Why that having educational context reflect on how teachers using different spectrum, but what I found is if that is highly focused on standard test, that is not directly convert to using teacher dialect teaching style. Teachers nowadays recognize standard teaching and standard test is very important in our society. However, they want to give more opportunity in student-centered teaching style as well. That changed a lot.
Yeah.
Can you explain well in your another presentation about this question?
Yeah, I will briefly say about that as well.
Because Kim have another presentation, probably can answer this question more clearly.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any other questions? Yes, please.
All right, good morning. Mine is more of in addition to what the two presenters have already said. I mean, as teachers, you might be taught about the spectrum of teaching styles. You can know them. But if the expectations are that at the end of maybe a 3-year program, students should be seen to possess this and that. And this is guided by the policy or the system. It becomes difficult for the teachers to go back to the schools and use the tools in the toolbox. They will know it, they will have the tools, but they won't use them because they are pressurized by the expectations at the end. So it is difficult to, like we can only rise to the level of the system, but that is how far we can go. So there is need maybe for policy change that will allow the teachers to freely apply the teaching styles across. Thank you.
Yes, I think we all agree that it's the command style that the governments are using. And it all ends to the teachers and to the students at schools. Thank you. Any other questions? Yes, one more. Yes,
Thank you so much for the excellent presentation. I am Gıyasettin Demirhan from Hacettepe University, Turkey. But I wonder what your achieving goals. You said that we want to reach our goal in applying it in practice. But I think that the believing is a very easy way, because the believing is a totally subjective thing, not practice. I'm sure most of them know this, that the Humberto Maturana from Chile, he's a very good biologist, that he said that if you do, you can make and know. If you know, you can do. There's a very good relationship, but if at the university, what a teacher education is related to the spectrum, for example, the physical education teachers that they can transfer to the school. What do you think about this?
So I think this. I think that's why I studied this topic. Like I see, we always think we should our knowing should reflect in knowing reflecting our doing, but actually we probably never achieve it. So, but that how can we close this gap? I'm still studying it. That's why I'm trying to integrate the future teacher education with the spectrum and the other subject. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I think do something in the future PE teacher. I think probably is the key point. And probably have other ways, but I haven't think it out.
Okay. Thank you. We have time for one more question, if someone from the audience. Yeah, one more. Min? Yeah, 1 second. The microphone is coming.
I just have a quick question about the last two presentation. Thank you very much for your nice presentation. And would you please tell us about a little bit about your data? Because Mr. Kim's data is from 114 teachers.
In-service PE teachers.
In-service teachers. And Mr. Liu, your data is from 144 PE teachers, right? If I remember well. And my question is, and can you tell us that all those teachers who are part of your participants, they are all teaching in rural cities, or or other cities? What kind of cities they are teach? So that might connect to Brendan's questions about whether they would have the very intention to follow the policy. Okay, thank you very much.
The data come from several provinces in China, like Liaoning province, Shandong province, and Heilongjiang province, Sichuan province. It's an online questionnaire. So I was studying in Shenyang Sports University. So my classmates, they are work with the elementary school, middle school, high school. So they sprint every city in China. Actually, we have more data, but when I finished the draft, only 144 teachers to answer this questionnaire. But right now, I think it's more. Most of them come from cities. Less of them work in the countries.
And for the Korean data, we want to keep representation of Korean in-service PE teachers. So we did multiple strategies. First, we contact to official education department of education in that state. Korea have 9 states, but we try to contact large group, mid-sized states, and small-sized states. So we using official message channel from government. Also, we try to reaching out special interest PE teachers group as well. So we did multiple strategies for making some representation of in-service PE teachers.
Okay, thank you very much. You have one question? No. Oh, okay. Okay. Thank you. I would like to thank all the presenters for the interesting presentation and the participants for the discussion. There are always things to be continued.